Happy Monday night to you. It's the Georgia Show here on the DawgsHQ YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We're also over on the Rusty Mansell Twitter. We're on the Facebook. If we can be out there, we are, man. All right. Coming to you from the frozen tundra of North Georgia, man. How'd you make it in the weather, Rusty?
Good. I know I knew that everybody was just didn't know really what to do. And look, man, it was scary. And I know a lot of people are still dealing with stuff, but hopefully we got through it. And, shout out, I wouldn't say shout out, but just a quick word. Everybody up in Nashville, that's where our headquarters is. Talked to Jack Terry this morning, and he said basically he was the only person that he knew up there that had power and internet. So hope everybody's staying safe, everybody's staying warm, and let's just get through the next couple of days. My gosh.
Yeah, for some reason, Rusty, this feels like this January has gone on for about 6 months, man. So
and we still got 5 more days left.
No, we really do. It's kind of unbelievable. Guys, before we dive in here, it's the Modelo postseason. Look, football's done at the collegiate ranks, but you still got the Super Bowl coming up, and now you get to watch Shadur Sanders in the Pro Bowl. So get over and grab yourself some Modelo and make it a great time. Ice cold, delicious, super refreshing, light Mexican lager. Goes perfect with any occasion. So get up there, get yourself a 6-pack or a 12-pack today, and just settle in. Enjoy a couple of cold Modelos while you wait out the storms here. They are imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois. Please do drink responsibly. Rusty, let's dive in on the big story since we were last on, and that is a shakeup in the Georgia coaching staff. Stacy Searels steps back from his role as the offensive line coach. He moves into an analyst position. An assistant offensive line coach, Phil Rauscher, promoted into the offensive line job. Not an interesting move, I wouldn't say. I think maybe an expected move, given some of his background. Rauscher, a guy who has spent a long time in the NFL ranks with Washington, with Denver. He's been with Minnesota, most recently Jacksonville. It's been a decade prior to this season, though, that he'd been in the college ranks. And now he is with the Georgia Bulldogs as their offensive line coach. Tell me a little bit about what you know about Phil Rauscher.
Well, he's an NFL guy, and that he brings a lot of different kind of perspective there. And, this is kind of obviously we're not going to get it, but I would love to hear kind of Kirby Smart on this. This to me, it's like one of the win-wins of the offseason. I mean, it looks like Georgia is keeping Stacy Searels. He's just not on the road recruiting anymore. He's kind of basically running the day-to-day operations in-house. Phil Rauscher is now now let me make it clear. He is the head offensive line coach. They kind of swapped roles. But, it was kind of like, okay, Phil's going to take this part over and Stacy's still going to be a big piece of the puzzle. And Stacy can stay in-house every day. He has the relationship with all the players as well. And while Phil's on the road right now, so kind of to me, it's like, usually when you have somebody do like that, they either retire, they step away. Will Muschamp stepped away. Will Muschamp, in his role, he was there a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he would come over once a month and he would spend a week. And then he lived in Columbia, South Carolina for the last year.
I've been wondering this exact thing. How close is this to what Matt Luke did?
Matt Luke just stepped away. It was done.
He didn't do any analyst stuff.
No, Matt Luke retired basically, and then he was off for 2 years. And he's like most guys. He did. He was. I got to get back.
Yeah.
And funny story. I think I was one of the first people ever to take Matt Luke to a tailgate. He'd never been tailgating. Been a college coach, and I said, Coach, you going to tailgate for a game. So he got to do all those things. He got to do the concerts and hanging with his kids and doing the fishing and all that. He retired. Now he's back. This is more along the lines of Stacy Searels is still a full-time coach at Georgia. He just doesn't have to go on the road and recruit anymore. And then Phil is running the show now. Don't get me wrong, but Stacy's kind of in in a secondary, which is really good, man. It's crazy how that worked out for Georgia, and it'd be interesting how that unfolds. But make no mistake about it. Now, Phil Rauscher is the offensive line coach, and he will have a lot of say. He's had some say in the scheme and those types of things. But I think too with Kirby Smart, Kirby Smart always hires somebody that he's either worked with or somebody he knows that you have worked with. Very seldom do they bring somebody completely out of the fold. And Phil Rauscher came to Georgia, and he spent a year. And I think from what I was told, coming from the NFL, he wanted to see if he liked this, the day-to-day, the totally different schedule. And I think he did, man. Obviously he did. And now he's the head football coach at the University of Georgia, offensive line coach, at the University of Georgia. And it's a great, great thing. And I think he's going to bring a lot of experience. And plus you get to keep Stacy Searels involved there. I think it's a win-win for Georgia.
Yeah, a young guy, a lot of energy, right? 40 years old. It's kind of wild, man. I looked back over his career. This guy doesn't – you want to talk about taking Matt Luke to a tailgate. I don't think that Phil Rauscher's been to a lot of tailgates either. He's been coaching since he was 20 years old, man. I mean, for 2 decades now, and he's only a 40-year-old guy. So pretty impressive to see that. But like you said, Rusty, it's been a while since he's been in the college ranks. Cal Lutheran, his last stop. I'm interested for him because – and I wrote a column on this. I think Phil Rauscher's got his work cut out for him in year one because with Monroe Freeland making his way to the NFL draft, you've got a guy in Ernest Green who's played a lot of left tackle for you. He's had a lot of snaps at that position, played it very well for some time, in fact, and was good at right tackle when he was healthy. But Ernest has struggled with his health, and that's going to be key for this year. Finding that left tackle is going to be job A, B, and C for Phil Rauscher in year one with the Georgia Bulldogs.
And, on our text thread, we kept thinking that Georgia was going to make a move on a tackle late, especially when Monroe, when he left. We kept thinking, all right, they're going to make a move here, and they didn't. And to me, Kirby Smart and his staff, they get paid a lot of money to make those decisions. It tells me they may be a little more confident about their too deep than people kind of think. You know what I mean? Because you got to think the Juan Gadsden and Ernest Green are probably the odds-on favorite right now. You look at Akene Aboko is on campus now. His new ranking is going to come out later this week. You sign a player like that, they probably need to play as a freshman. Got Josh Jackson, all those guys in there. So we'll see how this thing unfolds. But them not going to get another tackle, to me, tells me they feel a little bit better about their offensive line room than probably people think.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think that their choice not to do that, you wonder what does that mean about a Juan Gaston? What does it mean about a Josh Jackson? How does he kind of elevate some of these guys? And you mentioned Agboko. Look, you can't pay these guys the kind of money that they're commanding and just let them rot on the vine, man. You got to compel these dudes into service, dude. So,
he's on a rookie contract.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which you can get out of a rookie contract because Kenny Aboko in 2 years is going to cost you a lot more than what you got him right now for. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
listen too, and I'm not got to be real careful with this statement. But Georgia got a chance to see Aboko for about 6 or 7 practices.
Sure.
And they're like, wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Did he make them feel better? Because they knew pretty quickly on Juan Gadsden that this guy can play. Now, what level how many reps he's going to play? They knew quickly about Juan Gadsden. Maybe Aboko, who's a 5-star. Many people think he's one of the top 2 or 3 offensive tackles in America in this class. Maybe they're like, wait a minute. We're a lot better off there than we think we are.
Yeah, no, a kid like that will help a lot. I know, look, everybody wanted Jackson Cantwell, and I get it. But if you go watch the tape on Agboko, this kid's ceiling is as high as anybody's in the class, in my opinion. I think that he has all of the upside. He's got all the size. He's somewhat still new to the game. And now you're going to put him in the hands of a guy who's worked with Christian Darrisaw, who's worked with Anton Harrison, who's been an entrenched starter for the Jacksonville Jaguars since he was drafted in the first round 2 years back. That's one of the things, going back, Rusty, and looking over the last few years of what Phil Rauscher's done. He's worked with young guys and gotten them into really good positions and turned them into really competent NFL players.
Mm-hmm. Look, Georgia had a better year, I think, with the run game this year. And at times, I think they didn't have great games blocking. At times they had really good games. At times I felt like the running backs had really good games. At times I felt like the running backs didn't help themselves out by, yards after first contact. It got better. And I knew it would. I felt like it would this year because I knew that was a big focus of the offseason. John Lilly was another guy that was kind of inserted in there with some run game stuff. But they've got guys. They're just not as deep as they used to be, and they're not going to be as deep as they used to be. Those days are over. You know what I mean? When you're sitting there, Demarius Mims can't crack the lineup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those days are over. And they got to play quicker. And it's not just at Georgia. That's everybody. You got to be – I don't have any other thing to say. You got to be healthy at the end, and you got to be hot at the end. And you want that for Georgia. And lost to Ole Miss in a hell of a game, but not having Gabe Harris and Drew Bobo did not help Georgia's chances. And had to play some guys that were, just way of the world. You didn't have the experience you had with those guys. And you got to be healthy at the end. You got to be hot at the end if you want to win 3 in January.
Oh, absolutely. So the task ahead, Rusty, for this Georgia offensive line, obviously finding that left tackle spot, right? Outside of that, Jake Rowe and I just talked about this on the radio, and I'm going to ask you the question that I asked him. Do you think that Phil Rauscher has the toughest job of any positional coach on this Georgia staff going into next year?
That's a great question. To me, and I'm not putting this on Coach Chidera, they got to find pressure from the edge position. And to me now, they've got bodies there. Can they find ways to make this work? I think they are. The way we discussed the run game last year in the offseason, and people absolutely lost their minds about the run game. Then you go out and you rush for like 250 on Alabama the first time, and you lose that game. I mean, they had a good season running the football. They got to find pressure from the edge, man. And that, to me, they went out and got Elo Medozi last year late. I think Georgia knew, and listen, that's another whole conversation. They thought they had Damon Wilson. They had Damon Wilson re-signed. He had a contract, and 5 days later he was gone. And Damon Wilson left late. It hurt Georgia. Okay, let's not beat around the bush. And then they were unable to kind of replace him. And they held on, man. Georgia held on to their young pieces. Roster retention was unreal, and a great job by Georgia. So to me, I think the room that you want, that I think to have the most eyes, I don't want to say most pressure, but I guess that comes with it. The most eyes to me is third down pressures and getting sacks. And can you get stuff out of that room that you had it with Jalen Walker and all the guys before that? Hadn't quite had it since. They need to find it. I think they got some young guys there that can play, but they got to find it there to me.
I like that pick. Jake Rowe went with he said James Coley, just because of all he had lost out of that room in terms of the production that he was missing, which I think that's fair. I think that's certainly understandable. Yeah. For my money, though, I think Rauscher has his work cut out for him in year one. He's walking into a very interesting situation, and I think that you and I would agree, because I feel like Kirby Smart would agree, this team lives and dies by what happens on that offensive front. And so he's got his work cut out for him.
I don't know a year that you won't have your work cut out for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
That's just the way it's going to be. But certainly, when your name is on it, like I had a head coach tell me one time, when I lose a game, my coordinator's name's not in the paper. My name's on the paper. You know what I mean? When your run game and pass blocking struggles, the offensive line coach, his name's in the paper. So, or the message boards, that is where it's always going to be pressure on Georgia. Like I said, I think they like their young guys. I think they've got to have some key, got to be healthy. I mean, it would be huge for Ernest Green. It'd be huge for Ernest Green personally,
sure,
to stay healthy and to be that guy. Gasson's going to have a complete off season to where he can lose some weight. I think he showed flashes of he's really, really good. You got Dontrell Glover. At some point they're going to get Drew Bobo back next year. At some point, and he'll be a huge piece of the puzzle when he gets back.
Absolutely. Look, if you're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together in terms of your professional life, myperfectfranchise.net, the place to go to do that. Andy Ludicky and the team over there are working around the clock to help put you in a better position personally and business-wise. They want to work with people who are seeking to switch things up and get into the franchise game. And guys, it's not just the McDonald's. It's not just the Subways of the world. There's a ton of opportunities out there when it comes to franchises. They're experts in it, and their services come 100% free to you. Get over to myperfectfranchise.net. Get in with those guys today. See how they can help you out. Rusty, a little bit of mock draft talk beginning to percolate out there in the world. And Georgia finds two guys on the most recent one from Daniel Jeremiah, his 1.0 of the season. Look, Jake Rowe and I, again, we were talking about this earlier. Just try to calm down, okay? Mock drafts are for reading fodder. They are not to be taken as gospel truth. So there's still time. There's still all sorts of factors to play into this thing. But Georgia with two picks in this one. Late first rounders, C.J. Allen to the Buffalo Bills, and then Monroe Freeling to the Houston Texans. Now, C.J. to me has kind of been a consistent name, right? We've seen that, I think, in several mock drafts, even postseason, right? But Monroe coming out, the talk was fringe first, second guy, right? Where will he kind of land on that? This would be huge for Monroe Freeling, I think. It would be awesome to see that for him. I think he's going to test incredibly well. I think the combine is going to do nothing but help Monroe Freeling. But it had me thinking, Rusty, is there another dog that could sneak into this first round? I think we've got those two guys projected, right? Those are two guys I think that both of us would feel pretty good about, and I'd be willing to bet that happens. But is there a third man who could sneak into this thing?
Christian Miller.
Christian
Miller. Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. I've seen a couple of mocks that got him in the top 60. The thing about Christian Miller that people are going to like his personality. This guy's a very likable locker room guy. He's got some nastiness to him. Very smart kid. He's already starting business, life after football. He's already starting up businesses and stuff. If you follow him on social medias, he's got, he was the initiator of what was he call it? White Boy Wednesday. He on Wednesdays, they get to listen to country music at Georgia at practice. And he was kind of the guy of that, so he's an all around team locker room guy. And, but I'll say this, that he's got a chance. I'm just telling you, Monroe Freeland, he's going first. And I'll tell you what's helping Monroe. You're exactly right. His workout is going to help him, but it's not a great tackle class. And then you take the kid from Texas who was a likely top 15 pick, and he comes back. And when one of the top two tackle prospects, God knows what they paid him, but however they got it to him to come back, congratulations. But, with him coming back, that shuffles the boards. There's one less offensive tackle that's proven a left tackle, and you got a kid like Monroe Freeland who's, again, had a great year. I mean, he had a great year coming off that injury, man, and just really solidified himself as a lockdown left tackle. It will be good for Monroe Freeland, first of all, point blank for him to go first. It'll be great for Georgia to get another 5-star offensive tackle in Monroe. He was a 5-star. And if he goes in the first round, it just sets it up. Here's the development here. It's a guy that, right after all the other tackles that got played in the NFL, it's just a really good thing for everybody. But I'm telling you, Monroe Freeland, unless something crazy happens, he's going to be in the first round.
No, I'm totally with you. I think he made the right decision ultimately. I know it wasn't the decision that best benefits Georgia, but I do think for himself personally, he made a really good decision. Another guy that I don't know, man. I keep seeing like second round. Zach Branch is a guy who is going to, I think, make some noise when he gets to the combine and gets to run those 40s. I bet that those times will probably open some eyes. I don't know that he'll quite make it into the first, but I think he's got a shot, man.
I've told people, man, I was shocked how little he is. Like, I was like, damn, he is little in person. But man, he plays a lot bigger than he is. And Georgia fans know that. Like, he is a problem to deal with. You know, and you watched the Seattle Seahawks last night, and you look at they have an elite wide receiver, and at the end of the game, the Rams couldn't do anything with it.
Sure.
And Branch is one of those guys that brings a lot of stuff to his game, a lot of different stuff, but he is dangerous. And anybody that can create, anybody that can make somebody miss one-on-one is valuable. His personality is going to be great. I know that Kirby and those guys love this kid. I mean, they absolutely love this guy. He fit in great at Georgia. He was a great teammate and worked his butt off. And look, I don't want to get into all the other stuff because there's a million different examples and probably some that, you know, Jeremiah Johnson, you know, leaving Georgia, he wound up going in the first round.
Right.
Yes, he couldn't get on the field for Georgia. Congratulations. But Zachariah Branch coming to Georgia was the best thing that happened to him. And Georgia used him as much as they could and did a great job with him. And he's going to have a chance. You know, he's going to go to one of those teams that's like, okay, we got to have a playmaker, you know, at the end of the first round. What is one of those teams that's where it's going to slide into?
Sure.
Ladd McConkey was close to going in the first round. And, you know, I've talked about it a million times. I thought the Chiefs were going to take him at the end of the first round. They took Xavier Worthy. And then Buffalo, who I thought, okay, this is where he's going.
Yeah.
The next pick, they took Keon Coleman. Well, when Ladd McConkey was left, the Chargers went, oh, my God. He's still there.
Sure.
They make a trade immediately. As soon as Keon Coleman came off the board, Jim Harbaugh was like, I promise you, I've seen enough. I'm going to get Ladd McConkey. He goes and gets him. So it's all depends on the run right there at the end of the first round, the run of wide receivers and how it goes, because this guy's going to make you better right off the bat offensively.
Absolutely. Hard to disagree with that at all. Speaking of getting better, Kirby Smart trying to get better by getting on the recruiting trail in a big way all over the Peach State this past week, Rusty. I imagine today he might have been taking it a little easy. I don't know how many schools in the Atlanta area were in session today. I think every school in the state of Tennessee was out today. But the coach is getting around, taking these early year visits and get in front of some guys. I'm curious if there are any names that kind of popped up along the way for you that kind of said, interesting.
No, but I'll say this, that what you said right there, Kirby Smart is all over the Peach State. Kirby hadn't left the state of Georgia. And
you don't have to. You don't have to find good players.
You know what I mean? I would imagine at some point this week, Kirby's going to end up in Florida or something, because that's a very important state. But this is the first time that I have really kind of, and I was talking to somebody else about it. I was like, wait a minute, Kirby hasn't left the state of Georgia yet. Like, he's been in Metro Atlanta, he's been in Northeast Georgia, he's been in South Georgia, he's been in the Middle Georgia. He's been all over, and don't think he was on the road today. Now he'll have till Friday to make visits, and weather probably got him a little bit too. Last week with some of that stuff, that helicopter stuff. But just a note to tuck away. It seems to me that Georgia has spent a ton of time. I see somebody say, "Please go to Chattanooga, best running back in the country in 2027." Georgia has been to Baylor.
Yeah.
Trust me, they were there quickly. I would imagine Kirby probably gets by there. You're right on that at some point this week. But it's real interesting, kind of just tuck that away. Is this a shift? Is this a focus? Is this something that Georgia's doing different? Don't know. But I can tell you, just off sample size, I don't know that I've seen Kirby in the state of Georgia that many days in a row, when I know he only has limited days he can be out. Once this thing is done this weekend, Kirby Smart cannot be back on the road until next September at games.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like you said, that focus pretty interesting. One of the guys I did want to ask you about from this recent, not only are we seeing a lot of coaching visits, but there's a flurry of offers are flying out kind of left and right. Guys are picking those things up. Ty Johnson, a young man who has some ties to this Georgia program. Tell the folks about Ty Johnson, because I don't know that this is a name that they knew straight off the rip.
Ty Johnson's dad played at Georgia with Kirby Smart in the mid-'90s. His name's Travis Johnson. His uncle, Lance Johnson, played on I believe the 88 Notre Dame national championship team. So he has family ties to Georgia. He has family ties to Notre Dame. His mom and dad are both graduates of Georgia. This is a young man that I had a chance to see at MVP camp, came over out of the Charleston, South Carolina area 2 years ago. And he's one of those kids that just kind of keeps growing. The first time I see him, he's like 6'4", 240. Now he's like 6'6", 305. I think he picked up Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech. I think Shane Beamer was at his school one day last week. I mean, this is a kid I would say he's got a lot left in him. Over there in Charleston, South Carolina area. But he definitely has some ties to Georgia, definitely familiar with the program. He's been over a bunch. He was over a good bit last June. I think he camped a couple of days. And Kirby, on the first junior day, they had him in, and he made the offer in person. That was a big, big offer for Georgia with his family connections there. I would be surprised if he doesn't end up at Georgia, but I wouldn't say it's a done deal yet. I mean, I know he's taking visits. I know he's setting up visits, and a lot of connections, though, to Georgia. And when your mom and dad are Georgia alums, you're going to have some Bulldogs in your ear. But everything I heard about, they're kind of letting him take his time and letting him make his own decision. But that is a name that is definitely picking up offers every day. And, you've watched his social media. They have coaches every day, so that's a name to know early.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, you're kind of seeing that consistently. Some of these guys right now, this is when the explosion starts to happen for a lot of these guys. It's prior to these junior days, and coaches get out and just get a chance to see this guy in person. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Getting to be up close and personal with them, a huge deal. That's for sure. Rusty, what do we got the rest of this week, man? Kind of quiet out there, isn't it? I mean, in terms of.
Don't do that to me. I think Georgia's finishing up there. The notes were made today, and I was kind of surprised at how many Georgia coaches were out today. Then basically there was not any coaches north of Atlanta. We had some in South Georgia. We had some in California. Got two big in-home visits tonight in the state of Florida that we mentioned on DawgsHQ. But again, for people that don't understand, February now is a dead period, and so there'll be no coaches on the road again until like April 15th, past Saturday. So typically, all your assistant coaches are out on the road right now. You're going to see kids. You're going in home with the rising seniors, and now you're going to start setting. You're either giving new offers out. You see a lot of new offers every day. You're about to start seeing them set up official visits, because everybody in January fights over the June stuff. But this is the last time that Kirby Smart, head coach, he can't be on the road in April and May like the assistants can. So when Kirby Smart is done Friday at some point, and Kirby's a big basketball guy, he likes to go see kids play basketball. The Lad McConkeys, Zayden Walker, I can go on and on. That is his thing. He wants to see you play basketball and see those kids. So, what's tomorrow? Tuesday. I would imagine Kirby Smart's going to be somewhere tomorrow night watching somebody play basketball. So we'll have that. He'll visit schools all during the day. But that is something that he really likes to do, and to see that, in-person eval. So it's going to be 3 or 4 days right here. Georgia has a big junior weekend Saturday. They have this Georgia deal on Friday. I'm starting to see kids tweet they're going to be there Friday. So they're going to have 2 back-to-back recruiting days on Friday and Saturday. So that'll be real interesting how that works out. But typically typically, you see these junior days, and it's really kind of, it's not their only recruiting board, but it kind of tells you who's on their boards. And take a kid like Ty Johnson. He didn't have the Georgia offer. They bring him in that first junior day 2 weeks ago, and they offer him. And that kind of lets you know. So we'll have all that covered on DawgsHQ as the week goes on. But still a couple of days left in this recruiting cycle. Coaches out on the road. And, I always kind of like to see that because it kind of tells you who they're in on. And one thing I have learned, every coach in the country that takes a picture, you have to point. You have to give the you have to point, man. You have to point. You have to give the point. So shout out to all the coaches, and boy, they all look tired. I mean, they all look exhausted. They were killing Josh Heupel. I looked at social media, and look, man, the guy's a head coach. Kirby Smart's a head coach. God knows what they've been through the portal season. But they all need a nap. They all need a month off. So if they can survive through this weekend, you get to regroup, and then you get into February. That's when your team starts doing the morning runs, the workouts. As a coach, you get a couple of weeks off. A lot of these guys go and spend some time with their families. And then that's when you start digging into what they call the self-scouting part, Roos, where you go back and you watch a game and everybody's in charge of that, and you rewrite it, what we do wrong, what we do this, what we want to prove on. And you'd be surprised at how much film work goes on in February as opposed to some of those things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, it just doesn't stop. That's really the main message that we're getting at here. And when it's happening, we cover it over at DawgsHQ. So get over, come hang out with us over on the boards. We're there talking all the time, whether it's from Jake Rowe not feeling well to my legal trouble.
Man.
All kinds we talk about everything over on the Dog Walk. So get over and hang out with us there.
I'm getting texts today asking about your legal troubles. Can you please answer the board?
I did. We're good. We're clarified there. And to be clear to everybody watching, I am not in legal trouble. Okay?
No, you're not.
So just to be clear. But shout out to our buddy Jake Rowe. Hope he gets to feling better soon. My man is hurting.
Let me answer one question. I get Caden Wade, the Georgia quarterback. Georgia's gonna get negative recruited because everybody knows that Georgia's his school. So what you do is you chip away at the school that's the school right now. It doesn't matter if he was LSU, they would get chipped away at. Class of 2028, I would imagine at some point Georgia will have a discussion with him. He will have a discussion. There's a long way to go there. There's a long way to go. That is a very talented young man. And, Georgia's done a great job so far with him, and we'll see where he ends up. But it's been about 6 or 7 years, I think, since I've been to IMG. I'm actually thinking about going down there sometime in the spring and getting up close look at him. I love the kind of in-person evals with quarterbacks. That's just and I'm not some quarterback guru. I just like to see him myself throw and kind of see what we're working with here. But long way to go there. But Georgia's done a great job with him, and they'll have to fight everybody in America on that young man. And I'm sure Georgia understands that for the next 2 years to get him in the boat.
Only Objective Sports Fan says most IMG don't reclass. That has typically been the case. Now, it's not impossible. Dominic Kelly did. He was a guy who made that happen.
They do not. Listen, it happens, but that is not something that IMG tends to kind of support. You know what I mean? Right. And they let you know up front on that, okay? Yep. They let you know if you come here, you're here to develop 4 years now. You can do it, but I'm not saying that's something that's not their MO. They don't recruit you and go, hey, you hurry up and you can reclass here. They recruit you and say, listen, you come here and we're going to scholarship you and we're going to invest all this in you, but you're going to be close to the finished product as you can get when you leave here. And it really is college. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, it's just quicker college there. And, I personally like going to the old Floyd County school and having a high school experience. But if you end up at IMG, I understand it. And so we'll see where he is in a couple of years. Yeah, no doubt. Guys, appreciate you tuning in this evening. Like I said, get over to DawgsHQ, come hang out with us, and we will be back with you again very, very soon. We will talk to you. Have a great week, and stay warm out there, won't you?